Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're not just, reading the history books. We're looking for the lost instruction manual. How did the people who wrote those books actually learn?
Right.
Our mission is to explore how history's greatest minds actively went out and acquired knowledge and wisdom, a lot of the time outside of formal schooling, to create, well, the ultimate blueprint for lifelong learning.
That's it. And if you're aiming for fast, thorough knowledge, which of course you are, the sources all reveal that true wisdom isn't passive at all. It's not something you just stumble upon. It requires these deliberate, proactive systems, very carefully chosen environments, and a real commitment to constant action. The people who mastered this, they treated learning like an architectural process.
And some of those architectures started incredibly young. I mean, think about Joan Didion.
Yeah.
Before she was this celebrated novelist and screenwriter, she was just a devoted note-taker.
Yeah.
She started filling notebooks at age 5, and she kept that habit up for 82 years.
82 years.
She wasn't just recording her life, she was building the foundation for her professional mind.
And those notebooks, combined with her index cards, that was her raw material. That was the externalized memory system she completely relied on to produce works like A Star is Born and, 13 nonfiction books.
Wow.
This reliance on an outside system, that's the key factor we see across centuries of high achievers.
Okay, let's unpack this then. This idea of an external memory system, or what people today are calling a second brain, it sounds like it's an absolute requirement, not just a nice to have.
Oh, it's mandatory. Absolutely. And we have evidence of this system going way back to ancient Rome.
Really?
Pliny the Elder, in the 1st century A.D., he advised his students, never read without taking extracts. This was actually taught as a skill. It was called ars excerpendi, literally the art of excerpting.
The art of excerpting.
Yeah, and the idea was simple. If you didn't write it down, your brain wouldn't recall it when you needed it the most. It would just be gone.
Didion had such a beautiful metaphor for this. She called her notebooks a rainy day fund.
Right.
She said she had been contributing to this fund since 1939, knowing that on some bankrupt morning when inspiration failed, she could just open the book and find, quote, a forgotten account with accumulated interest, paid passage back to the world out there.
It was survival gear.
Exactly. Survival gear for the creative mind.
And it worked for everyone, not just writers. You have future General James Mattis. When he was a young lieutenant, he heard the working-class philosopher Erich Hoffer speak. And Hoffer gave Mattis one piece of simple advice that just stuck with him.
Which was?
Make sure you write down everything interesting you find.
And Mattis turned that into these 3-ring binders he called his Book of Wisdom, right? He was drawing on them constantly throughout his career for everything from battle plans to professional orders.
The sheer discipline to maintain these systems is what separates them. It's not a casual thing.
It seems like it.
And Ralph Waldo Emerson, he called his journals his savings bank for essay ideas. But he ran into the inevitable problem of volume.
Too much information.
Way too much. He had hundreds of notebooks. So how do you find anything? In the late 1830s, he had to start a separate 400-page index notebook just to track topics and where to find them.
So, high volume demands high organization. It has to. And the tools changed. But that principle of external capture, that stayed the same. You had the Florentine Zibaldone in the 14th century.
These family scrapbooks, basically.
Right, designed to be passed down as an intellectual inheritance.
And then the German Zettelkasten system from the 1500s, which used index cards. Carl Linnaeus made that popular. And think about modern analogies. Ronald Reagan used photo binders for his quotes and anecdotes.
And I read that comedian Joan Rivers had over 1 million. A million typed 3x5 index cards when she died.
A million. Can you even picture that?
I'm just trying to imagine the filing cabinet for that. It's huge. Clearly, organization is not the enemy of creativity.
No. And the key insight here isn't about volume. It's that great minds understood that ideas are fleeting. As Goethe said, just reading isn't enough. You have to capture the anecdotes, the maxims, the observations.
Even those little moments.
Even those fleeting moments of happiness or a mistake you never want to make again. If you don't externalize it, it's just gone. They treated their biological memory not like storage, but like RAM in a computer.
Okay.
Making space for critical thinking by offloading everything else.
So write it down, trust nothing to memory. That's step one.
It's step one.
So once you have your system to capture all this knowledge, where do you take it to be tested and sharpened? That brings us to finding the right classroom. It sounds like the greatest learners believed education is something that's taken, not just passively received.
That is a crucial distinction. We see it so clearly with Claude Monet. His wealthy family, they expected him to go to the prestigious École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, but the thought of that stuffy studio, it just filled him with dread and boredom.
So when he was drafted into the French army, his parents offered to pay for a replacement, right? If you would just conform.
And he refused. He totally forced their hand and requested a posting in the African regiment in Algeria, the kind of dangerous, remote place most people paid a lot of money to avoid.
He chose the battlefield over the lecture hall.
He did, and it was the right choice for him. He spent 2 incredibly formative years in Algeria, where he said he incessantly saw something new. He said the impressions of light and color he got there contained the germ of his future researches.
So he found his perfect classroom.
He found his perfect classroom, which proves that formal institutions aren't the only place to learn. I mean, look at Leonardo da Vinci. He couldn't go to university because he was an illegitimate son, so he just made the world his curriculum and became a self-described disciple of experience.
Okay, so once you find your environment, you need the right guides. But it seems like the best guides are often the toughest ones.
Oh, yeah.
Like Musonius Rufus, the Stoic teacher. He was notorious for his severity,
Yeah.
right? Exiled 3 or 4 times for just being so uncompromising. He held his students, like Epictetus, to these impossible standards.
And I think the most telling story is when Epictetus made a grammatical error and tried to brush it off. He said something like, "It's not like I set fire to the Capitol."
Okay, hold on. Why is a grammar mistake the Capitol? Isn't that a little bit of overkill? Why is that kind of severity so necessary for real learning?
Because Musonius wasn't just correcting grammar, he was correcting sloppiness. He was correcting the tendency to make excuses, and his stern reply was, in this case, the thing you missed is the capital. He was telling him that the moment you minimize a mistake, you compromise your integrity, and that integrity is the entire foundation of their philosophy. Great teachers don't just instruct, they get to the core habits of the student.
And conversely, the wrong teacher can just completely derail a life. Look at Malcolm X. His English teacher, a Mr. Ostrowski, told him that becoming a lawyer was, and this is a quote, no realistic goal for a nigger. He steered him toward manual labor, crushing his ambitions and sending him down this tragic path toward street crime. A teacher's influence is it's profound.
Which is why active mentorship is so vital, especially for non-academic skills, like the art of power.
Right.
Lyndon B. Johnson, despite coming from a rural college, he got his real education by meticulously cultivating relationships with powerful senators like Sam Rayburn and Richard Russell.
But how did he even manage to attract mentors of that caliber? I mean, you can't just send a cold email to the most powerful man in Congress.
No, you have to work for it. Johnson was described as a professional son to men who had power but were lonely or aging. He didn't ask for formal lessons. He just watched, he listened, he anticipated their needs, ran errands, solved problems.
He made himself indispensable.
Totally. That hands-on diligence is what attracts a mentor. Look at Bill Belichick. He volunteered as a driver for older coaches just to get 20 minutes of wisdom alone in the car with them.
That hunger, that's the currency of apprenticeship.
And finally, we see that learning is just dramatically amplified in a community, what Brian Eno famously called scenius, the collective intelligence of an environment.
So the place itself matters as much as the individual teacher.
Oh, absolutely. Think of the Scipionic circle in 2nd century Rome. Scipio Aemilianus gathered these great minds like Panatius and Polybius just to debate justice and leadership.
Or the club in London in 1764. You had Samuel Johnson, Adam Smith, Edmund Burke.
I mean, their debates, their rigorous critiques, they literally helped create the modern world. They shaped everything from literary criticism to economic theory.
Right.
Edmund Burke summed it up perfectly. He said, "He that wrestles with us strengthens our nerves and sharpens our skill. Our antagonist is our helper."
I like that.
Whether it was the Lost Generation in Paris or the PayPal Mafia, that constant intellectual sparring, it just accelerates learning more than solitary study ever could.
Okay, so once we have the captured knowledge and the challenging scene, the final step is integrating that material into our very identity. And the sources suggest this all begins by looking backward.
By studying the past. Historia est magistra vitae, history is the teacher of life.
Right.
And General George Patton, he internalized this. He was such an intense student of military history, he'd overcome childhood dyslexia by having books read to him, that the knowledge just merged with his consciousness.
He wrote that for military knowledge to be truly useful in battle, it has to become subconscious.
Subconscious, exactly.
You don't have time to recall a relevant example in the middle of a fight. You have to be so soaked in military lore that you automatically take the right military action.
History is preparation. It just primes you for future challenges. President Truman reportedly found answers to 9 out of 10 modern political problems in Plutarch's biographies.
And he had that great quote, "The only thing new in the world is the history you do not know."
That's the one.
And beyond the books, it seems great learners, they hit the road. Travel is the ultimate form of inquiry.
Yeah, Herodotus, the first great historian, he traveled out of mere curiosity to see what they could see. He was specifically seeking the eidi, the root causes, and the nomos, the customs of different peoples.
Travel is so essential for shedding ethnocentrism, isn't it?
Absolutely. Herodotus tells this fascinating story about a contradiction. The Greeks thought it was proper to burn their dead, but when they were told about a sect in India that ritually ate a small piece of their dead, the Greeks found it an outrage. But that Indian sect, they found the idea of burning their dead to be sacrilege.
So both groups found the other's custom an outrage.
Yeah, proving that our most deeply held truths are often just local customs.
This external voyaging, it really facilitates the inner journey. I mean, Gandhi himself said that his most creative experience happened not in India, but in South Africa.
When he was discriminated against in that train station.
Exactly. That conflict awakened his activism, and it just fundamentally changed the course of his life.
But the ultimate integration, that comes from action, from the loop of doing and reflecting. Plutarch, the famous writer whose biographies shaped leaders like Napoleon and Shakespeare,
Yes.
he spent decades serving as a local magistrate. He supervised masonry work. He dealt with citizen complaints.
So why would a man focused on these high intellectual pursuits bother with tedious local bureaucracy?
He explained that his political experience was critical to his scholarship. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, "It was not so much that by means of words I came to a complete understanding of things, but from things I had an experience which enabled me to follow the meaning of words."
So doing the work allowed him to truly understand the struggles and compromises he was writing about.
Exactly. He could understand Cicero and Demosthenes on a gut level. And you see it with Leonardo da Vinci, the ultimate disciple of experience. He relied entirely on this action loop.
Dissecting bodies, buying birds just to watch them flutter, working on practical engineering projects, he needed to touch and measure and build things.
The Stoics famously hated the pen and ink philosophers, those who never apply their knowledge in the real world. They understood that too much study without doing creates a paucity of knowledge. It builds a fortress of naivete.
Application is the final test.
It is.
And finally, we can't overlook the physical component. Mens sana in corpore sano. The belief that a sound mind requires a sound body.
Exactly. I mean, Socrates, the master of intellectual debate, was equally admired for his physical bravery and his ability to withstand the cold. He believed it was a disgrace for a man to grow old without seeing the strength and beauty of his own body.
And the Romans considered a poorly educated person,
Right.
someone who hadn't learned to read or swim.
Right. The peripatetic school Aristotle's students, they literally taught by walking. Getting the body moving, it unlocks the mind. It enlarges your perspective.
So there it is, the three-part blueprint, really, distilled from history's most effective learners. 1, create a system, your second brain, to capture every stray observation. 2, find the right environment and guides. Seek the challenging scene, the uncompromising teacher, and the influential mentor.
And 3, integrate that knowledge through action. Study history, travel the world, and apply your learning by actually doing the work.
It's a full system.
It is. And if you're feeling impatient with this process, the sources offer a really powerful caution. There's the story of the samurai warrior Banzo, who wanted to speed up his training.
Okay.
When the master told him mastery would take 10 years, Banzo asked to work twice as hard.
And the master replied,
"In that case, it shall take 70 years. And when Banzo pleaded to go even faster, the master just repeated, "A student in a hurry learns the slowest." The lessons required for true transformation will take the time they need to take.
Time, and it sounds like often pain. Epictetus said that the philosopher's lecture hall is a hospital. You shouldn't walk out feeling pleasure but discomfort because you weren't well when you walked in.
Right. And the provocative thought we want to leave you with is this. Are you willing to endure the time and the pain that's required for true transformation? Because the challenge isn't just finding the knowledge, it's submitting yourself to the lengthy, sometimes uncomfortable process that fundamentally changes you at your